It's time for a build. Can't wait.
Come on, nigga!
Hey guys, here we are. This is part of a series of videos that I've been doing. I'm going to be doing for the next couple of months. This will be one of the first, and it's basically me building my own new computer. I can't wait. I've had my other computer for almost 6 years now. It's a Intel i7 4790 non-K. It's now got 16 gig of RAM. It's now got a GTX 1080 and an M.2 drive. It's time for an upgrade because that thing is getting cranked every day. When I'm racing, it's at 100% CPU. It is just pinging off its head. So we need to go to the new generation, and I get to join the RTX gang. We'll talk about that later. So I'm starting off. I've got the Thermaltake Level 20 XT case. It's big. It's a big box. But because it's got 3 tempered glass panels, I think it's got a lot of packaging. We'll find out when we start the build. I'm going to do a time-lapse build because you don't want to see me fiddle around. I haven't built a computer since I was 16, 17. I did work experience and I didn't even finish building it. I just helped put a couple of parts on for the guy who worked there. I've been obsessed with computers since I was 5 years old. My own computer I have tinkered with a lot and upgraded and upgraded and upgraded as time went on. But I've never done a computer build from scratch, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I thought I'd just start off going through the parts. Level 20 XT, Thermaltake 1050 watt power supply. I got that because it's RGB, oh yeah. And I'm going to keep things in sync, the Thermaltake architecture. So I have a Thermaltake sync controller, which is to go with the 2 fans. For some reason, they want you all blingy and they want you to get the 200mm RGB fans, but they don't supply them. So I've had to get the 200mm fans at the front. There's 2 of them. The controller. Also have the, I'm just going to swing around this way. The Aorus from Gigabyte X570 Pro Wi-Fi motherboard with a preset AMD 5800X. It's part of a package. It was roughly the same price to get a 5800X and this motherboard. I think it was about $20 or $30 dearer because you pay for the box, but nothing was available at the time. So you could only get the motherboard and the chip. And I had a glance at it the other day, and just as I left the computer shop, I was like, hang on, where's my AMD box? The chip's already put into the socket. So we'll see how that goes with, I can't imagine it being wrong or bad. This big boy, have a look at this. The GeForce RTX 3070 from Gigabyte. This is the, what do they call it? Just the Aorus Master 3070. I had to really think about money. I've just been given a little bit of money and I was going for a massive splash, which I've done this, frame, wheel, pedals. I've overhauled my whole room, mouse, keyboard, headphones. I'm doing videos about all of them, so stay tuned in the next coming months. But there was one 3070 available and there was one 3090. But as silly as graphics cards availability are at the moment, a 3070 was $17.99 Australian, a 3080 was $28.99, and a 3090 was $4,000 Australian. So what's that? Roughly 2,000 American. And that's retail. So I don't think they're inflated prices. We just pay stupidly more than any other country. If you bring a BMW over, you buy a BMW in Germany for 20 grand, they'll sell it to you in Australia for 60. That's just how it is. And yeah, we get used to that. So I got a 3070. I thought the savings on that between a 3070 and a 3090, I can go and get myself some pedals. Stay tuned for that video. It's exciting. I love my new pedals from Hosenvold. Is that how I've been training myself to say it. Anyway, I've got a 3070 wrapped, absolutely wrapped. I've got 32 gig of DDR4 RAM from T-Force. There was the difference between the T-Force RAM and the Corsair RAM was something with the timings. I only know basics of timings just from what Jay's 2 cents talks about timings. I have no idea what he's talking about, but this was $200 cheaper. So it was $189 for 32 gig of 3600, I think is it 36? Yeah, 3600 megahertz RAM. And the Corsair 3600 was $389, I think. Why would I pay double for what is effectively the same thing? Also got a PCI Gen 4 M.2 SSD, the 980 Pro from Samsung. So that's going to be my boot drive, 1 terabyte drive. I'm going to use my old SSD, which is a 970 or 860. It's an M.2 drive, 500 gig. That'll be my scratch drive. And I'm going to use my old computer as a NAS drive. So I might even do a video about that, talk about it. It's not that interesting. I watched a few videos about turning your old computer into a NAS drive. And to be honest, if you're not into it, it looks quite boring. So I might do that, I might not. So I've got the Elgato Wave 3. I'm getting a proper mic. I've got a boom arm down there. And we'll see how this goes. Hopefully the audio improves, the echo goes. Production's going to improve, guys. I've just got to set the equipment up. Also got a 13-port USB hub, powered. I'm eliminating problems with my current system. So at the moment, my computer sits to the right of me, and I have all of my cables running through my shelves down into my simulator from the computer. There's 3 meter USB 3 extension cables. They shouldn't make 3 meter USB 3 extension cables because the physical limitations of USB 3 is 3 meters. So once you plug your peripheral in, which could be a 2 meter cable, you've got 5 meters of transmission. And I had lots and lots of issues. So the computer's going in front of my simulator and everything's going to be hooked up to this. And I was really impressed when I opened this box up the other day and saw the size of the power brick. It's like something out of a laptop. And this is just for the USB hub. So exciting things to come as far as cable management, making things look really neat. Now I'm waffling. Do you know how many times I open these boxes and pack them up? And I want to get all this filming done. It's a new chapter in my life, and I love watching these kinds of videos on YouTube. So I thought, hey, why don't I have a go? Let me know what you think. Finally, we've got CableMod cables. I wasn't too sure about the color because I wasn't too sure about the theme that I was getting. But I actually did very well. These are the full CableMod. It says the Pro Mesh RT series kit. I hope it's compatible with that because nothing talks about the Thermaltake compatibility with CableMod. But I assume they're all the same cables. Worst case, I've got the base cables. So this is the CableMod kit and it's the black and blood red, I think it is. Yes, the blood red cables. And I'm very happy about that because my TR160 frame that I've just bought has these, it's black and it has these red plastic strips. So it's going to be a red and black themed frame and I'm going to have a red and black themed computer. I think it's going to be fantastic with a bit of RGB. Lastly, Kraken X73 360 rad. I went for the X73 instead of the Z73 because it was about $180 more for the Z73, and the only real difference is the LED screen on the front. I'm not too sure if they've upgraded the pump, but I have the X53, the 240mm rad in my old computer. When I upgraded the rad to this, my God, awesome. Temps are just solid, and I thought, yep, why not do that? Save the money. And the motherboard in this case actually lays flat instead of upright. So I won't need it. that was the other big win about this. I didn't need a riser cable to have a vertical graphics card, but everything else is flat. So where my simulator is, I don't need a flashy little light showing a GIF or something like that. So the performance of this is going to be just as good as the Z73. And I think we're ready to start taking plastic off, take things out of boxes and start building. Let's do this. And it's done. This was a very rocky road. It's one of the hardest things I've done in a long time. You watch Kyle, you watch Jay, there's a guy called Gear Seekers, an Aussie guy, designs by IFR. They have these cool setups where they have the camera looking right down, and yeah, just looks so easy. But I'm here to tell you that it's not. It started off within 3 minutes of me starting, the heat shield for the M.2 drive, I took that off, and then I looked at all the screw holes, and I'm like, well, that standoff looks too far away. I'll unscrew that and put it in the right spot. My old motherboard has an M.2 slot with no heat shield, and there was a screw already in the motherboard when I bought it. So when I bought the drive, I was just like, okay, take the screw out, put it back in. So I thought I'd do the same thing here. That standoff was glued in, not screwed in. So Dumbledore over here grabbed his pliers, which you would have seen in the footage, grabbed it, because it was tight. I'm like, oh, it's tight. I grabbed it and it went snap. And I'm like, oh no, I've stuffed it within 3 minutes. So I called tech support for the computer shop. They didn't answer the phone. I looked up Google, and it was Linus Tech Tips forum that popped up, and people were saying just put some gaffer tape, put some electrical tape in, and that made me feel a little bit better. My first thought was, oh no, I'm gonna have to go back to the computer shop and buy another motherboard. I've totally stuffed this one. Because on the screw hole, and I'll show a photo, there's all of these tiny little circuits, and it looked like that the standoff was completing that circuit, because a motherboard has multiple layers, and within each layer, circuits are running here, there, and everywhere to make everything work. And I thought I'd stuffed it. So I got inside and very nervously told Kathy that I've stuffed it and I've probably broken the motherboard, where she grabbed her very delicate fingers and just nudged it in, and it wasn't even a quarter of a turn. It just the tiniest little turn, and it locked in, kind of on an angle. So we just sort of wiggled it in, and it stayed there. So I put the M.2 drive in, I put the heat shield on, screwed it in very gingerly, and it hasn't budged. Thank God for that. But it set the scene for the rest of the build. Every time I went to do something, I was like, oh, I'm going to break it. I'm going to break it. This is not the first time I've attached computer parts. My old computer, I've changed the water pump, the graphics card, I've had hard drives in and out. The M.2 drive. I thought I was really confident, but this is a lot harder than it looks. So, yes. I told you guys that I'd take you along for a ride, and yeah, the ride has been a bit rocky. The problem I'm having now is when I first finished the build, I haven't put the glass back on yet. I really wasn't impressed with the design of the case. So where the front of the motherboard is, there's no way of feeding the cables in underneath and just tucking it into the jumper. You have to have, there's 3 grommets along the side of the motherboard, and you have to tuck it in, and it just sort of, so here's the motherboard, instead of just tucking it in, just having every little cable just nicely tucked in like it would on a vertical case, on this one, you've got the lower grommet, and it actually just feeds across. So when I first did it, it just had a sea of cables coming across, and I want my video card to be on show, but I've got all these cables in the way. I've since worked on it and tweaked it, but yeah, I'm really not impressed with the case. I wanted to go to, this is the XT, level 20 XT from Thermaltake. I wanted the VT, but that somewhere I read along the lines, the VT doesn't take an ATX motherboard. It's only a mini or micro ATX motherboard, and they are rare as hen's teeth in Australia and super expensive. So with that big cavity, I've got a little idea in mind, and hopefully we can, that cavity will be actually on show for when we get to white flag fever. That's all I'll say now, but something that I'm going to work on the next month or two and get this stuff to work. All of the, that was the other thing, the 360 rad, the cable to go to the RGB header was just way too short for this case. It looks like it'd be short for pretty much any case. I might have found the wrong jumper, but where I'd laid out the cables and the fans, the orientation and everything, it meant that there was going to be no visual of the cables, but it would have meant that the RGB header was at the wrong end of the radiator, and there was absolutely no way that I was going to get it to the header. So I've had to turn things around, and it's not in a position I like. So there's going to be more work done to this computer. I, in the end, just wanted to get it running. You'll see the footage towards the end is quite bland. I pretty much, my battery went out for a third time while I was doing the time lapse, and I'd absolutely had enough. So I was like, bugger it, let's just finish this build and get it to post. First time I posted, it didn't work, and my heart sank. I'm like, oh no, I've shorted something out, I've broken something again or whatever. But it turned out the cable mod cables that I'd bought were wrong. So where's the box? This is a Thermaltake case, and it says Pro Mod Mesh RT series kit. I think there's an RT, there's an RX, there's all different ones. I didn't think it would matter, but it does. So within the cables themselves, and this is all part of the learning experience, you've got square pins and you've got pins that are rounded at one end, and they have to be in a certain combination to fit in the power supply. So I got the 24 pin in, no worries. I got the SATA pin in, no worries, but the rest of them just wouldn't fit, and it just looks so mixed matched. I wanted the cable mod cables. It was part of a theme, but I got the wrong ones. That's all on me. So we, I had it mixed matched. So I had the standard Thermaltake cables, which come in this pretty cool pouch actually. I had them all laid out, and I used 2 PCI ones for the graphics card, and there's the 8-pin connector for the CPU. And it just, when I finally finished it last night, I was walking around going, I hate it. I hate the look of this. It just, instant regret. I was thinking, I'll just go and get another case because this case is not working. So when I did try to get the first post and nothing happened, I came back to the desk and I took all of the cable mod cables out, and I put all of the standard Thermaltake ones in. I took it back in and it worked. So I've spent all day today working on last week's video and getting that all ready for uploading to YouTube. But I just wanted to let you know that you're going to see some B-roll now of a finished computer, and it wasn't as easy as it looked. What I do recommend is using a lot of Google, using a lot of certain forums. They have Linus Tech Tips. I found was really bad because if people got bad advice next to their name, they wouldn't take the post off. They would actually put banned. So people who were giving bad advice were instantly put down. So I found a lot of really good advice, a lot of advice that has helped me through this build. I get to one little thing, and I had on this phone the NZXT instructions, which were very vague when it came to the RGB headers, which I still haven't figured out 100%. Yeah, on this phone I had other instructions and Google, and I was just trying to do it properly without blowing anything up, to be honest. The fact that there was no smoke that came out of my computer was a big bonus. Anyway, have a look at this footage and let me know what you think. There's going to be more work done to the computer. I'll do that in the background. I won't bore you with that. Next week will more than likely be the frame. I'm going to do the TV stand and the frame, the console frame, all in one video. So far, I've done the TV stand and it's very tedious. So yeah, look out for that one and enjoy the B-roll, and I'll see you next time. Bye.